This is a show about facing fear, unlocking courage, and taking action.
Courage isn't necessarily a daunting thing.
It's going to give you more purpose. It's going to give you more drive.
It feels like making a courageous decision is going to get you closer to who you aspire to be.
It's knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage.
What I'm challenging leaders and organizations to do is to create the best organization that your people are ever going to work. We're not trying to have a good culture. We're not trying to have a good place to work. We're trying to have the best place that your people will ever work. And if they, God forbid, they leave, they're going to regret it the rest of their life.
Every once in a while, you get to bring on a guest who you've known for a while, and you know the real. It feels like I've known my guest for over a decade, although that is not the case. It's probably been 6 or 7 years, but to me, you're just Chris. You're just Chris. Like, I feel like the second we got to know each other, it was easy. We compared notes. You're on your journey, I'm on mine. But the reality of it is, Chris Dyer is a rocket ship. You are the number one, or one of, by the way, Power Marketing, the number one ranked leadership speaker on workplace culture. By the way, I love the white glasses. Touche on the white glasses, because as marketers, these little things matter. We're gonna talk about the white glasses today.
All right, let's do it.
It's a courageous podcast. We're gonna come right at it, but it's been really cool to feel like I've always known you, but over the last year, I feel like we're sharing more notes. Again, let's talk about this Ocean's 11 that you put together as well, and why you did it. So first, let's turn it over to you. How you doing? How do you describe yourself? Where do you live? Can you believe you're a grandfather? That doesn't make sense to me. I'm going to just throw 10 questions at you, and you can decide where you want to start.
I mean, sure. So, hey, I'm Chris Dyer. I live in Orange County, California, born and raised. So, today it's 82 degrees here. I'm so sorry to everyone else in the world that's suffering.
We just lost half the audience.
We just lost half the world.
Screw this guy. I'm out of here.
Yeah, and that was my courageous attempt to connect. No, yeah, I mean, it's just this is normal. I guess wherever you live, wherever you come from, that's your normal, right? And so for me, this is normal just to have a hot winter. But I kind of describe myself as someone who I always just wanted to learn things. As a kid, I was always trying to learn. I didn't always want to learn what the teachers wanted me to learn. I didn't always want to learn the things I was supposed to learn, but I always wanted to be learning. And that led me to be really curious about things that I was interested in. And so again, as a kid, that was a really difficult way to be existing in the world, because the world's telling you, you have to be in this lane and you have to be doing these things and you have to learn these things. And it wasn't until I got better at that, maybe in high school, then I realized as an adult, then you're allowed to do that. That's exactly the real world is, go be curious about the stuff you want to be curious about, go do the things that you're good at, avoid the things that you're bad at, or hire better people than you to do those things for you. And so it's so weird how the thing that caused me pain and suffering as a kid is the thing that now gives me joy and success and fulfillment, right? Which is, I like to be learning and growing and getting a little bit better all the time. And I think that might be a good starting point for the barrage of questions that you threw at me there just a second ago, because I think that kind of is the baseline.
Yeah, I mean, there's a from to here, right? And I think maybe that's why I feel so simpatico with you as I'm now laying down on my metaphorical therapy couch, right? Because we either met right after both of us left a life where we were running a very specific type of company, and then we both kind of went on our own journey to move from just consultant to hey, I want to run workshops. I want to keynote. I want to talk more about what I've learned. And I think you're right that you're never done learning. You're hey, does this still land? Does this still resonate? Because time is moving on. Whether you know it or not, it's yeah, we're moving. I believe we're spinning here, correct? So you're from too. Let's talk about from a little bit. Do you miss that last life much? And also, I mean, I was a creative agency owner, but I mean, I feel like you were like a people leader owner. Like, how would you describe the company?
Yeah. So, I mean, I had a large organization and, you grow and like that evolves and you have people. And I had some people in my company that were there like since almost day one when I sold it 20 something years later. So what I realized from that moment that I stopped or I sold, I had the purgatory with the new buyers. But once that was over, I was like really lonely. I was really miserable. And it's not that I was like, oh, I shouldn't have sold the company. Like that wasn't the thing. It was like, well, what am I supposed to do with myself now? Like my whole habits and my existence and everything was like talking to my people, collaborating with my leaders. It was all like this whole thing of like this muscle memory, the brain memory that you kind of build up. And so that's why when I made that decision, I think, okay, speaking is really the thing that gives me the most joy. I really like consulting. I do a lot of consulting, but like I love keynote speaking. And I had to go and find a community there. I had to build community there, and I had to like find people that I could solve problems with and talk to and like figure all that stuff out like I used to do in the company. Because that's what I was missing was a team and trusted advisors and people to get help and talk things through with, and right, or be a mentor to somebody, like all of those kinds of things like I was missing. And until I got those back, like it was a miserable couple of years or two, until I kind of like figured that out and then went and found those things to replace it.
I mean, I think a lot of people feel alone right now, and I don't think we've, so forgive me because I still, like, you're my guy for workplace culture, whether you love that or not. I mean, that's, you did this, you've been in the talent space for so long, right? And the culture space for so long. I don't think this problem has been solved. I feel like companies are terrified of back to work, 1 day back to work, 3 days back to work, a blend. I just heard one recently where when you start, you have to be in 5 days a week. If you make it to the first quarter, it goes down to 4 days a week. I mean, I like that people are experimenting, but the fact is, I think we're like, who's losing? It feels like innovation's losing. It feels like me, again, this is classic me. So I'll do this with a story, right? Like my learn what to do by watching what not to do list. That's a real list of people that I'm like, I will never be like that leader. Well, I only experienced that leader because I was in the office and was like, wow, I would never treat another human like that. Or that didn't feel like it was very thoughtful or felt self-serving. I feel like those moments are going away. And if you're under the age of 30 right now, you're like, this is great. I don't have a commute. I'm productive. Yeah, but like, who are you following? Like, where are you learning? Are you seeing this in your arena?
Yes and no. So the organizations that have a good culture and have a good sense of what they want their people to do and how they want them to collaborate and all of that stuff, like they're doing that, whether it's on a Zoom or a Teams or whatever, or they're sitting in person. So that's not necessarily the on or off switch for that stuff. It's the companies where they're leaving it to chance, where they're like, well, come to the office and just by meiosis, like whatever, it's all gonna happen. And that's just sort of this unintentional thing. And so my answer to all of this, and you sort of put this out there that I'm the workplace culture guy, where we're really seeing the difference is that most people, most companies, most cultures will naturally settle into mediocre because that's comfortable, because that's easy, because that's achievable, because they're not being asked or no one is telling them they should do any different, right? And so you're not terrible. You're not the worst culture. People aren't like running from your company, but they're also not running to it either. And so what I'm out talking to people about every single day, what I'm challenging leaders and organizations to do is to create the best organization that your people are ever going to work. And I know you have a story to this too with a past boss that you had, but like that's my message. We're not trying to have a good culture. We're not trying to have a good place to work. We're trying to have the best place that your people will ever work. And if they God forbid they leave, they're going to regret it the rest of their lives. Not in a mean way, but like the grass isn't greener. And I'm going to make sure that they understand that. I'm going to make sure that we're creating that kind of environment. We're creating that kind of mentoring, like all of those things that are important, that we're going to be intentional and we're going to do that stuff so that we don't slip into mediocrity. And that whether we're in 3 days a week or 1 day a week or remote, that's a decision your company has to make based on your people, what you do, where you're at. Like it's complicated. It would be irresponsible for me to tell you, oh, you should be hybrid or you should be remote or you should be like, that's a company by company decision. But it's going to suck no matter what you pick if you're not trying to create the best place to work.
All right. Maybe this is the courageous question of the courageous podcast. You're like living on planes like me. I think you've done like 300 plus keynotes in 20 different countries. And you're talking about workplace culture, making it the best place to work. You're telling me there's no part of you that misses creating that with your own team? Because now, like, you don't like you're like a rock star. I mean, I see it. I see the LinkedIn's and all the places you are. And I thought I traveled a lot. Do you miss building your own workplace culture?
I don't miss that specifically because I get to do it by helping so many other people right now. And so I think it's a bit like you graduate from college and you've been in school and you love school and then you become a teacher. Like, do you miss being the student if you get to be the teacher? Like, you're still doing the thing, you're still involved and you're still a part of it, but like also you don't have homework anymore. Like, it's not always easy to have employees. Not always. I will tell you the thing that I don't miss is with as many employees as I had and as many people in that ecosystem that I was in charge of, there was always someone with an illness. There was always someone with a sick a family member. There was always someone with a death in the family. There was always someone was going through something and I was going through it with them. Felt like so I was always worrying about some group of people. And I didn't realize how much that, like 20 years of that impacted me. And so will I get back to that place in 5 years? Maybe I'll tell you, yeah, I'm back in. I've got 1,000 company. I may be doing it again, but right now I'm like, I'm cool. Like I'm loving helping other people, but like, I don't know if I'm ready for like that thing again quite yet.
I want to, just so the listener gets it, that there wasn't a moment between my question and Chris answering where he flicked me off. So that was good because that's a flickable, I don't know if that's even a word. That's a flickable offense of what I just did there, right? It's like, oh, you're going to be the guy who talks about workplace culture, but then you're not that you haven't done it already. As you've now gone and, all right, this is behind the curtain, folks. We're going to come behind the curtain a little bit on the keynote side of our business. So this is one of my personal favorite. I don't like the word hack, but if you have a better word, strategies. There we go.
Futuries, yes.
I try never to take a stage without being at least somewhat intelligent on the business. So in my discovery lap, I have up to 5 30-minute interviews. That's a lot of time, one would say. But I'm trying to build relationships because we have the consulting side of our business. And so I'm interviewing them as much as they're interviewing me. I'm trying to get to know someone I could see us investing our time in and working with. And I try to have the very last person doesn't always work out this way, is the most senior person. So I'm really ready for that conversation. And then I think what I'm sure you feel this way too, like your special sauce is, are you hearing what's not being said? Are you fluent enough in subtext to go, oh, you said that, but actually what you meant was no one's inspired, or we're not talking, or we haven't, like you said, we're embarrassed to admit we're mediocre or exhausted because it's a tiring time.
Yeah.
What does your discovery process look like?
I typically spend, so it does depend because there's so many different ways in which a client can come to me. And so if a client comes to me from a speaking bureau, I may only get one meeting. I've been hired with no meetings where they're just like, show up, do this talk on this stage. And I'm like, don't you want to have a meeting first? And they're like, nah, we saw your stuff. You're good. You were here. And you're like, okay. But my preference is like you. I like to interview people, especially like if it's a sales kickoff. Like right now, I'm in SKO season. What the salespeople tell me and what the leaders tell me are always very different. You know, the leaders are like, "Oh, the salespeople are doing this," and the salespeople are like, "The leaders are just that's great." And that there's this huge tension between the two groups, right? And so, if I can get a really good understanding, and how do I get them on that same page? And so, to your point of like, I got to interview some people who actually do the work and some people who are leading the work and all of that. I do a fair amount of research now through the LLMs, right? Like really using that to help me find research, get articles, what's happening with the company, what's been reported in the press. Like, because to your point of what's not being said, I might be able to come with better questions if I have a better understanding of what is being perceived in the world about that company, right? So Fortune 100 company, there's stuff out there, right? If they're having trouble in a certain way, or this has been reported or whatever, like I can figure that stuff out. So that tends to be the larger process. But I'm not typically doing what you're doing. Like I'm not necessarily leading them into consulting. Like they will ask me to do consulting and then that's a separate thing. I'm sort of trying to deliver the best possible keynote to get the best possible result for the organization or the conference or whoever. And hopefully also then get referred inside of their network, right?
Yeah.
Because spin is the best and cheapest way to get more keynotes.
Yeah. Also, I don't think I'm justifying my answer with this. I was going to say this anyway. They're containers, right? Like my job is to not create a keynote to then force you to hire me as a consultant. It's not like a ruse.
Yeah.
It's you have a job to do. You've got to deliver in the moment. But I definitely like designing a life where I'm testing them out. Like, is there a willingness? I've definitely said this on the show. Like, I love words. You know, I've talked about some of my favorite words, some of my least favorite words. Two of my least favorite words are deadlines. Like, we couldn't come up with a better word than deadline. Like, really? Tolerate is another on my no-no list. Like, do you really want to live in a world where you're tolerating behavior or that person's tolerable? Like, I hope I'm not in that camp when people talk about us. And you would think that a guy that has a company called Courageous would have courageous as his top word, but it's actually willing. Like, I love the word willing. Like, are you willing? Are you open-minded enough to hear another point of view? And then will you will it through once we decide as a unit? So I'm constantly auditing partners too, to be like, oh, could we actually like make change here? Like, are we just talking to ourselves here? About what percent? I'm curious. If you had to, and by the way, you get one pass card on this call. So if you want to use it on this one, I would see why. But like, when you have a job to do and you're trying to make a dent, because right, you're like, I want this to be the best place you ever worked. How often do you know, right? Like what percent is like, that's actually possible at this company? If you had to give me percentages, is it 50%? Is it 20%? Just to give you a slight out, what's the 1, 2, 3 you would suggest for anyone trying to make that place real? Those could be separate questions.
So it's 100% possible that they can always make that workplace better. 100% possible. Even if we look at them and you're like, I don't know how that can get any better, they can always get better. And so it's my job to push or pull or whatever direction that is to think about stretching, about what that's going to take to get to that next level. There are typically, so this is the crazy thing that's always fascinated me about consulting and speaking and all that. You and I would do our absolute best work if the worst companies out there called us to come in and get to help them. The D-, the Fs, like the C+, they need the most help. And yet they never hire us and they never will. We are constantly being hired by and brought in by the B+ and A- companies who know they are not there and they need to get better, or they know they've been struggling and they need to get better. That's not always, I will get hired by the C- for a sales thing because they will spend money on sales and then they'll ignore everybody else. But like in general, and it makes sense. Like you think about it in school, if you were parent of a D plus student, like you're not hiring a tutor because you're like, the kid's not going to do it, doesn't do his homework or whatever. Like the tutors were always hired by the kids who had B pluses, and their parents were trying to help them get an A, help them get into Ivy League school or whatever. Right. And that's the difference. And so I think in most cases, the people that are hiring me, there is this real chance that they can really do something because I'm never talking to the ones who don't care.
Very fair.
At a big conference, though, at like a Leaders of Tomorrow conference, then I'm getting a mixed group because I am getting the D minus companies. I'm getting representation from them in the room because they've showed up to some larger conference. And that's what I'm really excited because I might be able to give them a little something they can take back to the company to make that shithole a little bit better. And they might get a little taste and they might want to do a little more and a little bit more. And maybe, just maybe, it won't be so bad for everyone who works there.
Maybe look, this is hard for me as optimism is my number one core value, but let's be realistic. I think you're spot on. When you join a company, it's a little bit like dating, right? Like you're like, I hope this is the one. Maybe this is the one. Like, will we get married? And but if you are a B plus person or an A minus person and you discover that you thought you were dating a B plus or B minus, and you're like, oh no, where was this side of you on your profile? All right.
Yeah.
You're running for the hills. So I actually think people leave with relationships. If you're a B plus person and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize fool me once, I'm at a D minus, get me out of here. What do I need to do to get out of here? Yeah. I don't think I've ever been hired by, because they don't value putting the money, as you said, in that arena. They don't think, why would I invest in that? You're right on sales. Like, oh, fear-based, we got to get sales figured out. Let's make that investment. Here's what I find even more interesting. And folks, humor me. If you are listening to the pod and you've made it this far, pause the podcast shortly and truly think about, where's your business? Are you an A, an A minus, a B plus, a B minus, a C plus? You know the scale, folks. And if you really care and you're not the decision maker and you want to make an interesting conversation, we all have editing capabilities. Just snippet out the last 90 seconds and send it to a leader in your company and ask them, hey, I was listening to this podcast. This was really interesting. Where do you think we are? And I promise you, good things will come of it. If you can get beyond the fear of, oh my God, I can never do that. It's going to force an audit in a world where we're moving too fast, where that leads you to go, you know what? I love that. We used to be a this and now we're that. Or I love that. I feel confidently because that we're this. Well, if we're a B plus, how do we get to an A minus? And so I love where you went with it, Chris. It might be an interesting little audit question for clients. Like, where do you think the business is if you're going to grade yourself?
Yeah, I very much to your earlier question. I mean, I'll ask clients what's not being said. What is it they wish that was happening? I mean, we're trying to create some vision and some idea about like what could be. Because again, in every situation, we can get better. We know the world just pushes on us and is destroying whatever little fragile ecosystems we have inside of every little relationships at work and home. Like we're always having to think about making those changes and how to make things better because we're not sitting in pristine, still, calm waters all the time. Right? That the world and things are constantly changing.
So I think we have like a good idea of who Chris Dyer is, but like let's get to know Chris. Like give the world. I mean, I kind of already teed up grandfather, which is like crazy. But like, if you're gonna give us a sneak peek into like hobbies and family life, or just like the real, give us 3 little things that most people don't know about Chris.
3 things. Well, I married my high school sweetheart, and we adopted 3 kids from Russia that were older. They were 9.5, 8, and 4.5 when we got them. And I wrote about this for the very first time in my new book that's coming out this year, Moments That Matter. It was not an easy road. It was not a fairy tale. It was not oh, we adopted these kids and everything worked out perfectly well. It's been a hard road for all three of them. And now my wife and I are raising our grandson. So not only do I have a grandson, but we're raising my grandson. So those are interesting things. They're not all easy things. They're not all fun things. But I will say that I have enjoyed and am a lot better at being a parent the second time around. Like, I remember my grandfather got remarried and had two more kids, and it was you could just see it was effortless for him the second time. Like he was like, "Oh, I knew what I did wrong the first time, right? It's a lot easier the second time." I imagine if I wouldn't have another company again, like that would be kind of the same thing. You've already learned the lessons the hard way. And hobbies wise, I like hiking and climbing big mountains. Not like on ice and being stupid, but like big mountains you can walk on your own. And I have two Great Danes.
No free solo. There's no free
solos. Yeah, not like that kind of stuff. So Kilimanjaro was the biggest one I've done. That was not dangerous. So
still pretty badass. You said you have two big dogs. So you're a dog person, not a cat person?
Definitely a dog person. I'm sorry to all you cat people who have those weird fur balls in your house. I'm not a cat person. I will tolerate them. They're fine. Like the kittens are cute and all, but I'm a dog person.
Because I feel like we do know each other. If your answer would have also been like, you know what, I am actually really deeply passionate about helping people and keynoting, which you are. And like, that's the hobby. Cause that's what I kind of wonder. Like there's a lot of love and there's a lot of work that goes into the craft of taking a stage. And then I think people get this so wrong. I mean, my own self-talk as a guy that just wrote Head of Mentals is, oh, you're a narcissist. You're taking a stage. You're a narcissist. It's like, no, like I'm totally at peace, or I've surrendered that. If somebody thinks that of me, but somebody else is actually willing to hear what we're talking about on the Kurt side, I'm like, all good. I will take this bullet over here if I'm helping people. And so there's a lot of love and joy to do what we do. Is there a favorite moment, to use your word, that you like to have from a stage?
Favorite moment. That's good. So when I'm giving a keynote, I am looking for my head nodders. I am not paying attention. Like, so it's funny. Just today, I had a speaker asked me and some other speakers, like, oh, I had these three people, they were talking in the front. Like, what would you have done? And I go, I don't think that's ever happened to me. But when I thought about it, I'm like, it probably has, but I didn't know it. Because I am focused on the people who are nodding their heads, that are into it. And they're like, we're at church, man. Like where I'm connecting with them and what I'm saying, I'm telling them to make the best freaking place ever. And they're like, yes, I want that. Like that's who I'm giving that keynote to. And I'm ignoring anyone who may or may not be paying attention. I'm ignoring anyone who's just sitting there staring. But like, I find that when I'm giving that keynote to those people, I'm making eye contact with them. I'm moving in the room. I might have 3 in an audience. I might have 30 in an audience. Depends on how big. It tends to be about no more than about 0.5% of the room are those kind of really into it, nodding people. And I'm giving my keynote to them. And the better I do for them, the better the whole room ends up responding. Because I'm not worried about the like whatever. It's like I did my first event down in San Diego last week. It was an SKO down at the what's that new casino? Starts with a J. Anyways, it's down by you, down by closer to one.
As a guy that works with Funner, California, I'm not allowed to mention any other casinos than that one.
So I went down to and there was like 12. It's a very small SK. There was 12 salespeople in the room, and they had all been out having a good time the night before. And here we are at 9 o'clock in the morning starting, and I'm talking to them for 90 minutes, and they were very stone faced. And also salespeople are always like got their BS meters up. Like the first 30 minutes, they're not going to let you in. And like, so I had built in some exercises just to kind of like be able to pulse and what are we doing here? And after the first little exercise, all of a sudden they're going, right? The lubrication is in, like they're going, we're talking, but still like I'm watching the sales leader come in and out of the room, And I'm like, am I failing up here? And so what I learned was like to always ignore all of the negatives. I'm only focusing on the positives. I'm noticing there's several people who, again, I got one good head nodder. I got this other guy. He's constantly participating. He's in, and I'm like, I'm just focusing on these two people, right? I'm making their day. I'm making them a better salesperson. If everyone else hates me, oh well. And so to your answer your question properly, at the end, I asked about for reflections because it was more like a key shop we did. And the sales leader raises his hand and goes, "Can I say something?" And again, he's been out and out of the room all for 90 minutes. And I'm thinking he's going to get up and say, "You piece of crap," or whatever. Right. This is not how we're running things, right? And I will tell you that I walked in, like I doubled their goal. I intentionally showed up and said, "Your goal should be this." And that was why they were all kind of thrown back, right? They told me what their goal was this year. And I went in and said, "Your goal should be double," and just presented to them as if they were going to double the goal this year. Again, I'm pushing people to try to be better than they think they can be. And he got up and then joined me on stage and said, "This is exactly what we need to be doing." And he said, "I spent 10 minutes in the back room wondering why we weren't making our goals bigger and why we weren't." And so like that moment when I can push people beyond their expectations, beyond their ideas, beyond where the limits that they give themselves, that for me, like whether that's that moment or someone comes up to me in the hallway and is like, "Thank you, I hadn't thought about it that way. Like I'm gonna go try this now." Like that's what I want. I want people to get that breakthrough. That's the big thing for me. It's not a standing ovation. It's not anything. It's like, did I help somebody get somewhere better?
Yeah, it's a great moment. And you can see why you're like, "Oh, I want to do that again. I want to do it again." And you can't force it. You got to just do your thing and hope for the moment, which is an awesome, awesome story. You know, you can't get to courage without really looking at the fear. And I'm curious, do you, and I get this question from time to time too, do you still get scared when you go on a stage?
I never get scared to get on stage. So I don't know why that is. Like I've never been, I learned a long time ago that excitement and anxiety are the same thing. They just have different labels. So I learned many, many, many years ago, like no, I'm just excited to do this. I'm not anxious. I'm not worried. I'm excited. And so what I noticed in myself is I'm excited to go. And I am not that I'm nervous or afraid or anything. I am like, let's go. Like, can we get this thing started? And I have to really watch myself because I will start to get frustrated if they're going long. Like I'm supposed to start at 9:30 and now we're at 9:45 because the CEO couldn't shut up and just kept talking, or the person who paid to be up on stage went longer than they were supposed to, or whatever the thing is, because I want to go. I want to start. Like I want to get going. And I have to be mindful of myself, like not to let that, if I have disappointment, let's say, if we didn't start right when it was supposed to start, or I've had people come up to me and go, "Hey, yeah, you had an hour, but can you make it 50 minutes?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's the best. It's like 10 minutes before you're about to go on. Like, "Hey, so we're and by the way, it's probably like the event plan. Like they're not even at the company. They're the event planner that's just trying to keep the clock. Can you go? You're going to have to go 45 minutes. You've seen my
And you're like,
slides.
And so which slide did you want me to cut? Like, which thing did you want me to cut out? Do you want me just to talk extra fast? And the audience is pissed. If you skip slides, they are pissed. They feel like, "Oh, wait, you didn't teach me that thing. I've been sitting here." And so it's really hard to make that shift. If they give me enough time, I'll go in and delete slides. I don't know if you do this, but I actually build my keynote to be a keynote. And then I have 2 more mini, like little 10-minute keynotes after that, because sometimes they'll ask me, like I'll have more time, or I'll intentionally go faster than I thought I was going to go, or whatever. And so I have to, like little buffers to save myself.
It depends. What a surprise of an answer. But I had something yesterday that was like part workshop, part keynote. Mm-hmm. So yes, there's definitely moments where in the middle of a workshop where they're in conversation that I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's good. I need to add that in. It's going to work perfect." Mm-hmm. So I don't think I intentionally meant to have like little speed bumps, but as you learn, because I want questions throughout. I want to be participatory. You'll learn something, You're like, oh wow, they're over indexing on thinking. They completely forgot about feeling. And that's
Mhm.
normal. That's normal with the C-suite the way that they are. But I like your preparedness to have like these little containers inside like those little Russian dolls. You've got like a little keynote inside the keynote.
A little matryoshkas. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, if you need it. All right, man, take us home. First, this Ocean's 11 idea that you had, because people are like, what the heck is that? Well, I've really appreciated it. And I'll tee it up, and then I'd love for you to give us why. I'd say 3 months ago, 5 months ago, I can't, I'm not good with time here. Chris reached out to a few of us in Southern California, and there was a need just to bring us together. There's a reason why we did it in terms of like the group that you're a part of before. But you kind of realize like there's plenty of work out there. We're all trying to do good, but yet we're all going at this as like swimmers versus a basketball team. Like, why aren't we teaming up and learning from each other and helping each other? So when I say things like this Ocean's 11 speaker group, this was not like a revenue mastermind for Chris Dyer. It was truly a container for speakers to come together and share. Can you talk a little bit about where it came from, why you set it up, how do you feel it's going?
So yeah, I was in another group which fell apart, which is a whole other podcast on itself. But what I learned from that group was there's plenty of work out there that when we give generously and we don't keep score, that we all do better. And me being involved in that group, I realized how much I needed community. I needed the people, the insane people that live this life that we live of being on stages and help doing this work that we do. My average friends that I hang out with do not understand me. They think I'm an insane person. They were like, you were on 85 flights last year? Like, what? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I'm hoping I'll do more this year. Like, and they just look at me like I'm crazy. So they know me like in a different way, but like the work, I can't call them up and be like, oh, I had this thing with this client. And the context isn't there. And so what I realized was that in-person thing of like sitting next to people and having discussions and having friends that can challenge you and talk to you and help you and be accountable with you is big. It's really big to your success. And it is a very strange thing to think about. Oh, I should go and bring 4 or 5 of my competitors, people like me doing the work that I'm doing, and let's all talk about our secrets. Let's all talk about what's working and what's not working, and let's share openly without keeping score and try to help each other all get better. It's a weird idea, and yet it is the best thing that I think anybody can do. It's like we're not necessarily all swimmers in this competing in the exact same race. And we're also not exactly a basketball team either, because we're not in a completely shared success. It's not like if the 5 of us are all going to go make the same money and go have the same outcomes and impact on organizations. But we're something in the middle, which is a weird, fun thing. But
so far so good from my perspective.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it on as long as you don't keep score, right? Like I think the minute it gets into that weird space, you kind of have to be like a goldfish and the comparison has to go away. But you just open yourself up to learning and also just investing the time to sit with how can I learn more about this space, and oh wow, like I never even thought of that idea. That's interesting. Let's talk about sizzle reels and where should we be shooting this and all that. Why is that so important? So it's been a great start. Thank you for putting it together. You kind of glazed over your fancy new book project. Just give 30 seconds on title, where you're at. Also, in the spirit of ending, where can people find you?
Yeah. So this message and this work has been evolving over time. And eventually I had a really smart mentor say to me, just so you know, I do agree with you. I do think you're right. I do think the work you're doing is the right thing. But devil's advocate, why should I care? Like, why does this matter? Like, he's kind of really helping me think through this thought process. And I don't know what happened, but I said, well, it's about the moments that matter. If I look back at everything in my career, when I got certain moments right, that was what allowed us to create the best place that, I mean, I had employees recently tell me your company was the best place I have ever worked. I had them tell me that they would give up all the money that they've made. Like they would give up all of the great things that have happened to them since I sold the company if we were back in the good old days, which is
That's got to feel good.
Good and like bad all at the same time, right? Like it's a weird hurt so good, right? And that was because we got the moments right. It wasn't 100 little moments put in a marble jar. It was getting the right moments at the right time, right? Knowing when to step up and be like, okay, this is one of those moments we got to get right as a company. And yes, we should get the other little moments right as best we can, but I could get 1,000 little moments right with you, Ryan. But then like if something really big happens in your life and I don't call and I don't show up and I don't do anything, you're going to be like, those little things didn't matter, right? I could text you on your birthday every year, but like you almost die in a car accident and I don't do anything. I don't say anything. Like there's a different level of complexity to moments. And so when I was talking about this and using this, it really resonated with people that they got it, that this was the tool. This was the way to understand, well, how do you have more EQ? How do you be a better leader? How do you actually do it? When am I supposed to do these things? Because it feels exhausting to do them all the time. To have to be perfect, to have to be on, to have to do all this stuff. What I need is to know when I'm supposed to do it and when I'm not. And that's moments. So books coming out, Moments That Matter, will help you, whether you care about leadership moments, sales moments, moments at home, like it's for anything in your life, any place. And last but not least, you can find me at chrisdyer.com or anywhere on the interwebs. I'm happy to connect with anybody. And if you want a little guide on how to be a better leader and some little ideas, you can text 33777 and put my name, Chris, as the message, and it'll text you back a free PDF.
Oh, I like that last little moment. Way to hit that little nugget there. That's sweet. Chris Dyer, man, appreciate you. Keep doing it. Keep living it. I'm excited to see where you take this book about moments, and even more interesting to me, I love what happens when you miss a moment. And it's not about fear-based. It's about being prepared to show up at the right time. So keep rolling, man. Great stuff. Hey, we've got our little Ocean's 11 soon. I'll see you soon.
Yep. All right, man. Thanks.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Courageous Podcast. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts so more people can find us. See you again next week.